Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network, USC women's basketball show coming at you with USC women's basketball analyst CC Clay. And wow, that was something on Saturday night against Ohio State. Not just that USC wins by 21, but if anyone had come up off the street and told you, hey, you know what? Juju Watkins is going to miss her first 11 shots. She's going to miss 14 of her first 16. She's going to finish 5 of 21. And USC is going to throw the ball all around the parking lot, 23 turnovers. I would have thought maybe USC would lose by 21, but no, they win by 21 despite their best players struggling and 23 turnovers. Not the kind of scenario CC and I would have anticipated if you gave us those stats before the game. But it happened, 84-63. So many good things to take from this game. USC showing that it's a complete team. It's a well-rounded team with a lot of people contributing. And so CC, we'll unpack this Ohio State game from a lot of different angles. We have plenty of coverage up on our Trojans Wire website, things that we want to talk about. But just the first item, you follow this team closely, but obviously for road games, you have to watch on TV. What did you see since you were courtside in the Galen Center? What really came across about this game and this team and what you saw on Saturday night?
The focus. I always pay attention to body language. I sit right behind the bench, the USC bench every game, and I always pay attention to body language and the personalities of the team for game day and how they look. And they looked like they were ready to go and they were excited to go. They knew they had to come in here and take care of business, and that's what they were looking to do. So I was excited to see them ready to go and ready to play, even during warmups. When they were warming up, they were serious. There wasn't joking around. They were really serious and in tune with what they had to do.
Kennedy Smith just all over the court, 13 points,
Yeah.
13 rebounds. She's handing out assists. She's blocking shots. She did everything. And Kiki Iriafen, 24 and 13, very effective when she was on the floor. She got into a little bit of foul trouble in the third quarter, so she sat for a few minutes. But like when she was on the court, very effective for USC. Which player impressed you most, or like what player's game would you really like to dissect as we develop our show here?
Be Kennedy, right? She was my player of the game. I think she was everybody's player of the game. I mean, you got to remember she's just a freshman, and she was ranked number 6 in the nation when she was coming out of high school. So, coming in this year to be a role player and doing her role to exactly how it's supposed to be done is a hard ask, right? But defensively and offensively, she's really starting to come into her own. She's knowing when to take her shots. She's shooting with confidence. Um, her on the ball defense is like no other. The way she rebounded the ball yesterday was very, very good. I mean, she was in there rebounding like I've never seen her rebound before. To get a double double, it was her first double double. We need to see more of that from Kennedy, and she's fun to watch. Because she doesn't get really excited or anything. She's very even keel like Juju. You never see her too high or too low. She's very even keel, but she goes out there, she knows her job, and she does it. So kudos to Kennedy. She really played a good game yesterday.
Kiki Iriafen, one thing you've been saying, we need to get her in the mid-range. She needs to
Yep.
be able to get some comfort from the mid-range. And, she converted a number of layups on post feeds, but she hit a number of those 10 to 12 foot jump shots, which, when they're going down, that's when Kiki Iriafen is playing the kind of game she needs to play for this
Yeah.
team to be successful.
Yeah, but with ease too. She was throwing down those mid ranges like it was just easy for her. And I think the thing about what Ohio State did, they figured just like every other team, we'll shut down Juju. And if we'll shut down Juju, they'll have to figure it out. Well, yesterday, they figured it out, and Ohio State paid for that. Now, Ohio State, when you watch the game back, if you watch the game back, their defense was mainly crowding the paint, but they weren't helping on the weak side when it was on USC's strong side. So it left a lot of opening for the post players to shoot down low and for Kiki to back out and shoot her mid range.
One thing that you've been talking a lot about, Cece, over the past few weeks, dribble drive defense needs to be better, needs to be stronger. USC needs to stop that ball decisively. I would
They
say did a
did.
really good job against Ohio State. It turned Ohio State into a jump shooting team. And then, of course,
Yep.
the rebounding prowess made Ohio State one and done at the offensive end. What did you see that went into USC's marked improvement in terms of dribble drive defense on Saturday night?
Well, for one, whoever did the scout on Ohio State did a really good job because the two players that could dribble drive for Ohio State, Jelani Cambridge, were one of them. She's their main dribble drive. They just cut her out. What were they doing? They were beating her to her position. And so when they were able to beat her to the position, she couldn't dribble drive like she could. And then when she did dribble drive, the help was coming over like it should in a good way and either getting a block or just stopping them in their tracks. So the help side was really, really good yesterday. And our on the ball defenders were getting ahead of the dribble drive.
The box score obviously tells part of the story for USC. Every starter had at least one blocked shot. Four starters had at least one steal. All five starters had at least 8 rebounds. Like this was a game in which everyone did the grunt work. Everyone pitched in terms of doing the no glory things. Like it wasn't the people weren't hunting for points. They were all trying to get the loose balls. They were all making the hustle plays. Um, you know, was this the most complete defensive performance you've seen from this USC team this season so far?
I think so because they didn't even have to press. They just played half court defense for most of the game, and they didn't even have to use their press. They wanted to shut Ohio State down. They knew they had to shut down Chance Gray, their 3-point sniper, which they did. They knew they had to stop Jelani from the dribble drive, which they did. And they knew that they had to stop Cody McMahon from driving or getting the ball in the post, which they did. So the three top players that they needed to take away, they did a really good job of doing that. And so the one thing I want to say though, Juju was very impactful for this game, even though she was inefficient in her shot making. The way she played defense and the way she helped her teammates out on defense, her impact on defense was huge yesterday because she got blocks and she got 10 rebounds. And in the second half, she started taking advantage of some openings with layups and everything like that. And what Lindsay did with Juju on offense was good. When she saw that Juju wasn't able to make her shots on the outside, what Lindsay said, okay, we're going to post you up, whether it was on the high post or down on the low block. When Juju had a smaller player guarding her, they were able to post Juju up. And I think you're going to start seeing more of that just to get Juju in the paint and get her touches because that's what they need to do, especially if she's struggling from the outside. Just let her post up because she'll most of the time have a smaller defender on her. But yeah, defensively, we were on point.
Well, you mentioned it, and let's break that down a little bit more. I don't think it's an accident that Juju's first basket late in the third quarter was on a post up. It was a low post touch. She got a few more baskets on low post feeds. To me, that seems like the biggest adjustment that Lindsey Gottlieb and her staff. Well, I mean, they began to make it, but now let's see heading into UCLA if they can continue that. Like UCLA is probably thinking, we need a defender on the perimeter, but yeah, if it's Kaylee Heckel or Avery Howell or Kennedy Smith making a post entry, like that would be something different. It would be a different line of attack for USC. And, so they've seen Juju post up, but like that hasn't been like the go-to play, certainly. Um,
Yeah.
let's talk about this. If indeed Juju's going to get more post touches, how do you think that affects the rest of the offense, the reads and reactions that the other four players on the floor are going to make? What do you think this opens up in terms of possibilities for USC's offense heading into UCLA and, of course, beyond going into March?
Well, they could do high lows. So, high post, low post with you being at the low or the high. But if she's at the low post, my whole thing is if they're going to double her on the low post, she has many options to kick it out or go up and draw the foul. So that's going to be the most important piece of this that the players on the side that she's on, that they're get ready to get into their spot so she can kick it out. But I think there's going to be more opportunity because no team is expecting that. And Juju's 6'2", so she can use her height and her strength to her advantage and start posting these little guards up. It's going to create mismatches on the defense because they're not going to know what to do. And then as far as UCLA is concerned, I think that's going to be a big game changer when Lauren Betts is not in the game. When Lauren Betts is on that bench, I would immediately start posting Ju up down low.
In terms of, if USC is going to post up Juju a lot more, and I think you and I both agree, like this is something that certainly needs to be tried out a lot more often to get Juju going, give her more shot attempts within 10 feet of the basket, and obviously to give her a better chance of getting to the foul line. And of course, when a shooter sees that ball go in the basket from the foul line, like that can be the lubricant which enables a shooter to kind of get back her rhythm, which Juju has not had the past few weeks. So obviously, if she's going to be posting up, it begs the question, who should be feeding her the ball? Who should be making that post-entry feed? You mentioned high-low, which could point to Rhea Marshall or Kiki being the feeder. But let's just say she gets the ball on a post feed from the wing, should it be Avery Howell? Does it need to be Avery Howell? Because the defense pinches, Juju can kick it back out to Avery for the three-point shot, and we both agree that Avery Howell needs more three-point looks. But does it need to be Avery on the wing? Or if it's someone else, like USC can be moving the ball and use multiple passes to rotate across the court to Avery. Does it matter whether Avery's strong side with Juju or if she's at another part of the court?
To be honest, I think it's better if the post pass comes in from the weak side because you have less defensive players on that weak side. And if you take it, if you let the strong side, like while the wing is coming in on the weak side to do that post pass to Juju, the strong side is setting picks and keeping that defense on that side. Then you have a breakdown in offense where if they're going to double Ju, it's going to come over late. So weak side entry would be beneficial for Ju, and it doesn't matter who it's from. It could be TVO, it could be Avery, it could be K9. It doesn't matter as long as it's on the weak side. If you do it on a strong side, there's a bigger chance of Ju getting doubled, and she's not going to have enough room to work. But if you make that post entry pass from the weak side wing, there's more room for her to work and do the things that she needs to do, whether that be kick out the pass or take it up for a layup, or turn around and do that little small mid-range that she has, that step away mid-range.
All right, we always like to go to your big board of statistics and ratings. We're going to do that in just a bit, as you prepare all those numbers and line them up. But one more question about a specific player, Talia von Oelhoffen. To me, this is the kind of game that USC will love to replicate from TVO. Provided a little bit of offense, not a ton, but a little, like 8 points. That matters in a game against a top 15 quality team, but also 8 rebounds, offering assist passes. And one of the things I really noticed, and we talked about this on our previous podcast, that she is a physical, tough defender. And I saw her handling matchups one-on-one within 5 feet of the basket. She was handling some matchups on the wing. Like, she played some really good one-on-one defense when, like, it was up to her. She was on the island, and she was able to contain an Ohio State offensive player at different spots on the floor. I mean, this looked like the kind of game that USC's been wanting from TVO the whole season. And if USC can get this kind of game from TVO in March, like, that's going to pretty much hit the spot for the Trojans. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think one of the reasons why is because everybody was involved. For the, very, like, not the very first time, but this is one of the few times that I've seen the offense, really an offense moving the ball together, playing as a team and not pressing so much. And I think one of the reasons that happened is because they were able to get out on transition. And if they weren't able to get into their go offense, which is their fast break offense, then they moved right into flow, which is their pro style shapes and reads offense. And they were able to make reads really quick. And what I noticed was their spacing on the floor yesterday was really, really good as far as where the wings were, especially when they did four out, one in, where the post was, whether she was low or high. And then when they had 2 posts in, they did a double post high-low, which was really effective for them too. But the important thing was their spacing was good. And TVO defensively we need this TVO because she had a good all around game where her presence was felt and her presence is needed. So if we can get this TVO for UCLA, it's going to be tough.
All right, let's now go into the statistical deep dive and some of the comparisons, trends, nuances that you observed, not just the flow of the game, but then the end product, where USC landed and what this means going forward in terms of, what USC really hit, the targets that it hit, and where USC fell short and has room to evolve.
Well, let's do where they fell short. And of course, that's turnovers. I said that was the key to victory was they had to have less than 13 turnovers and they doubled that almost. They had 23, but they still were to overcome because they turned over Ohio State. Well, Ohio State only had 10 turnovers, so they really didn't turn them over, but they did defensive rebound wise. Let's call that a turnover, right? So that kind of evened it out. But what impressed me a lot about this team was their second chance points. Their second chance points, they had 18 second chance points, which put them in the 93 percentile across the NCAA, which is one of the highest ratings you can have. So their second chance points impressed me, and their percentage points off second chance were 21%. So 21% of their possessions turned into second chance points, which is a good stat. And then the other thing was their offensive rebound percentage. 44% of their possessions was an offensive rebound. So that's really good as well. And of course they had 62 rebounds, and that's exactly what won in the game, the way they played defensively and their rebounds. So those are the three stats that stood out to me, all on the second chance points, which is rare for them, the defensive rebounds, and the percentages of possessions that it created within these stats.
Yeah, I certainly thought turnovers was going to be the number one key as well, so I was wrong there. But, it does reinforce the point, and I mentioned this during the game on Saturday, that sometimes a missed shot can be good offense. And
Yeah,
we saw Rhea Marshall getting a number of putbacks. If you just get a shot attempt, that you give yourself a chance, and you pointed this out, CC, that Ohio State was undersized. USC had more
yep,
size, more length, can go feast on the glass. So if you're just getting up a shot attempt, that's better than a turnover. You're giving
yeah.
yourself a chance for those putback points. So that it reinforces that if USC can minimize turnovers, that one thing, the ceiling for this team is going to rise.
Yeah. The other thing that impressed me too was the way they held the 3-point line. Ohio State only shot 18% from 3-point, and Chance Gray is a much better shooter than that. So the way they were able to take that away from Ohio State was really good, which tells me, like I said, that they really paid attention to to the scout. And that was an important piece of this game, was paying attention to the scout, and whoever did the scout did a really good job. And I'm just so impressed by the way USC followed the scout for the most part and for the entirety of the game.
Let's talk about Lindsey Gottlieb. We need to give her some flowers for what
Yes.
she's done this week. And when you have a superstar level player and a major media magnet type figure such as Juju Watkins, so much of the focus is going to be on Juju's stats and Juju's points and all that sort of thing. And
Or what
people
Juju does or doesn't do.
exactly, exactly. And so people evaluate Lindsey Gottlieb through that one narrow prism.
Right.
But she's coaching a team, and she coached the heck out of this team this week. And we need to go back, at least I'm going to go back to the Wisconsin game, getting all that rest for her
Yep.
starting five. And we saw the energized, full tilt effort in a big game. And the elite coaches, they get that maximum effort from their players in big games. And Lindsey Gottlieb was basically coaching the Ohio State game starting Wednesday in Madison
Absolutely.
against Wisconsin. So like these past 4 days, her game management, minute management, roster management, she hit it out of the park. And one other thing about Gottlieb and roster management and rotations and everything, USC started this game first 3, 4 minutes very sloppy. Kaylee Heckel goes right into the game. Lindsey did not wait. She puts K9 right into the game. USC's offense instantly improves. Heckel's quickness with the dribble was that an extra ingredient to kind of just get everybody's juices flowing, increase the tempo. Lindsey Gottlieb's roster decisions, substitution patterns, A plus this week
Yeah.
against Wisconsin and then Ohio State.
Yeah, so I did a YouTube video. I'll be uploading it after we get off. And one of the things that I showed was the lineup flow. And in that first quarter, because I wanted to point this out, she did make that move, and she put in Kaylee Heckel, Avery Howell, and she had Kennedy Smith, Kiki Ariafen, and Juju on the court. And I mentioned on the podcast, the previous podcast that we had, that those five are the best offensively for the team. And when she inserted them, they were before they went in, they were a minus seven as a team on the court because the score was 7-2. So they were a minus seven. When she instilled them in the game, they all of a sudden became a +8 as a team when those five were on the court. So yeah, her timing was great. Her rotation management was great. Lindsay doesn't get enough credit for the coaching job that she has done. You have to remember she has 7 freshmen on this team, all, the 3 McDonald's All-Americans, a number 6, a number 13, a number 26, and she has Juju and she has Kiki Ariafen. So those are a lot of personalities. Those are a lot of winners. Those are a lot of competitive people that come from programs where they were the number one player. So how do you manage all this and get them to play as a team and be successful? It's hard. And so people don't understand, how good Lindsay is. I'm telling you, she is. You have Linda Sharp, and then you have maybe one other person that coached at USC, and then you have Lindsay Gottlieb, who's been one of the best coaches that this program has ever had, and what she's building. So I just wish people would recognize the tough task that she's had and how she's handled it like a pro. Just love her to death.
Yeah, and people who get angry at Lindsay Gottlieb and the coaching job that she does. Hello, was USC in the Elite Eight at any point from 1995 through 2022? 27
Yeah,
years, no one at USC
yeah,
was getting to the Elite Eight. If it's that easy, and if Gottlieb is that replaceable, hey, can you just show me? Can you prove it?
yeah. And
So really,
not
memories
only
are
that,
short.
her second year her first year was a wash, right? Just like with most coaches coming in. Her second year, she took that team to the NCAA first round with who? You know what I mean?
That's right.
She had Destiny Littleton, and she had who else did she have? But I mean, it was a good team, but it wasn't a
They couldn't
team.
shoot. They
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
shoot,
yeah.
and they
They
still
had to
got
win by
to the
defense, and
tournament.
they still, Lindsay got to the tournament her second year. So it's just amazing to me, all this chatter. But I had to remind some folks on Twitter, I think it was a couple weeks, that Dawn Staley took 9 years to win, longer than that, because when she was at Temple, she didn't win a national championship. So she went to Temple, and then she came to South Carolina. It took her 9 years, and she didn't do that until Asia Wilson came. And then Asia Wilson was there for 3 years before she won her first national title. So, all this chatter is just crazy to me. I mean, Lindsay is a great coach. She knows her X's and O's. She knows how to manage this team. It's tough with all these superstars on there. She's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, winning's hard, and for people who aren't basketball historians the way you and I are, and hey, we're recording this podcast right as Hubie Brown's final NBA game on the air is concluding. Hubie Brown, one of the great teachers of basketball. Let's teach people on history, Cece. There's this guy, UCLA is where he coached, and it took him over 15 years before
Yep.
he won a national championship. People might not remember this. He was coaching in the late 1940s, coached through the 1950s, into the early 1960s. Pete Newell at Berkeley, kicked this guy's butt most of the time. So this
Yeah.
guy, who I'm about to mention, it took over 15 years for him to finally crack the code and become successful. And of course, Cece, we're talking about John
John
Wooden,
Wooden. Yep. Of
arguably the
course.
greatest coach ever. He
Yeah.
needed a decade and a half to really figure things out. So,
Yeah.
learn a little history, folks. Learn about
Yeah.
the history of the sport.
Yeah.
You don't just win right away. Like Mike Krzyzewski, he needed several years at Duke to figure it out. Dean Smith at North Carolina, he was hung in effigy very
Yeah.
infamously early in his tenure. They wanted him out of there after the first few seasons, thought he was totally out of his depth. Stuck with it after nearly a decade, and then we all saw the fruits of that patience. So,
Yeah.
learn a little basketball history, folks. If you think Lindsey Gottlieb's not doing this right, not doing that right, hey, zoom out, big picture,
Yeah,
you know?
okay. Exactly. Big picture, folks. Stop looking at tunnel vision, because it's hard. If she would, I'm not even a coach like that. I coach AAU 12, 13, and I couldn't even deal with that. You know what I mean? Because it's so tough. You have to deal with the players wanting to be superstars, and you have to deal with the parents wanting their players to play all this time. And instead of, they want to be coaches in the stands instead of letting the coaches do their job. Do you know what I mean? And people don't understand how it affects the team, the coaches, and their player, that they love so much. So I just think that there's a lot to go into coaching. A lot of people don't understand because they have tunnel vision. And look, Lindsey Gottlieb has done a phenomenal job here. You take a team that doesn't know how to shoot the ball or can't shoot the ball and take them to the first round of the NCAA tournament your second year, you can't tell me that she's not a good coach. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. It's so funny because that's just with everything you do, though. It's not just coaching. People are gonna, talk mess about me, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't, but I have my opinion, and I can give my opinion. So it's remarkable to me.
All right, closing down the show, and
Yeah,
folks,
we
if you're
vented a little bit. Sorry, we both vented a
no,
little
we both vented. We both
bit.
needed that. As we close down the show, and just for everyone listening here on the Trojans Wired podcast, we're going to do a separate standalone preview of UCLA. So if you're wanting that UCLA content, don't worry, you're going to get it, but it's going to be a separate standalone show. There are several days between the Ohio State and UCLA games. There's going to be more talk about this game. So, CC is going to line up her YouTube videos as well. But we're going to do a standalone separate episode previewing the UCLA game. Wanted to mention that. And so, CC, tell us what's coming up on your YouTube channel. Anything new you have coming up out of the Ohio State game, going into the UCLA game, just the things that you have planned at Let's Talk USC Women's Basketball.
Yeah, so I have just finished the recap video, which I'll be uploading as soon as we're done with this podcast. So you guys look forward to that. It goes over stats, analytics, play breakdowns, and I wanted to specifically do play breakdowns to touch on their pro style offense as well as their spacing and show people how well they were spaced out when they were doing their flow offense yesterday. So I have that coming out, and then I'm going to have a Did You Know series that I'm going to be starting and talk about the history of former USC players that some people may have forgotten about or not known how good they were for this team in previous years. So I'm going to be starting that series this week. And also, hopefully, USC will be having a media day before the UCLA game, and I'll be able to attend that. And we can talk about that on the podcast, and I'll probably upload some of that to my YouTube channel if they do go ahead and have that.
All right, so it is now UCLA game week. A very exciting time for USC women's basketball and for college basketball in Los Angeles. The Big Ten championship runs through LA, and so that sets the stage for Thursday night's mega game in the Galen Center. And so you want to be following CC Clay at her YouTube channel. Let's Talk USC women's basketball. And what are the 3 steps? Like the video, subscribe to the channel,
Right.
share with your friends. Follow those 3 steps. You can't go wrong. Getting the knowledge on USC women's basketball from CC Clay. CC, thanks
Hey
again
Matt,
for
hey,
joining
hey
us.
Matt, one thing. Hey, I just want to shout out the crowd at the Galen Center yesterday. There was over 9,000, almost 10,000 strong there. Galen only holds 11,000. So huge thank you to those people that came out and support these women. Support them. We run LA. Cannot we cannot let UCLA out crowd us, I guess, which they didn't because they didn't have as many people at the Ohio State game as we did. Just shout out to this community, the city of LA, Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino, no matter where you live, Santa Clarita. If you came out to the game, thank you. Keep supporting these women. They deserve it. So I'm gonna give the crowd their flowers too for stepping out and showing out.
Amen. And that is a great note on which to end this latest edition of the Trojans Wired podcast. Again, stay tuned later this week, our UCLA preview special. That's all for now. For CC Clay, I'm Matt Zemek. Thanks for listening.